looking for Dwayne and posting about Dwayne on social media since March of this year. We've come a lot along, a lot of how would you say, a lot of roadblocks since we started. And right now we're doing an awareness walk to Shiprock on behalf of Dwayne, just because, we're not getting any communication. Is that okay to talk about? But we're not getting any communication from.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We're not getting any communication from the CI. It's been 7 months that we found the remain. And that remain still sits in Albuquerque, awaiting a response from the CI to move forward with DNA. And also, I'm going to disclose this because it's part of what we're walking for. Back in April, there were remains found, but those remains, the first set of remains, they couldn't extract DNA out of it. So the anthropologist team out of Albuquerque, they sent an email requesting to go back out to the area to do a search themselves to get an okay from the CI worker, but there has not been any communication there as well from the CI to the Albuquerque team, the investigators there. So I've been calling every week to Albuquerque, asking if he called, or they're like, there's no communication there. And they wanted to get the okay how they're going to do the DNA, to send the DNA out to Texas, but even that, there's no communication there. And us calling the CI, and there's no communication there. We have not talked to him on the phone since August of this year. And so, it's very frustrating for us trying to seek answers, because we went out and we did our search with the help of other resources, such as, the Four Corners K9, them and Zithlegene, search and rescue. They came out to help us. And then also the MMDR. We've been getting resources from them, and they've been assisting us. But, the frustrating part is we just want answers. We want updates, but we're not getting that. And, we figured maybe this awareness walk will get us answers and get the attention of others. Because you wouldn't know how it feels until you actually go through it. And trying to seek answers and trying to push this case, it's like, it's a lot of hurt, and it's a lot of frustration for us. So that's what we are doing. That's what we have gone through. And we're hoping today that some way, somehow, we can get answers, and we could get the attention of others to help us identify if it's Dwayne or not, at least to push this case forward. So when we were doing our walk yesterday, we ran into another roadblock where they asked us for a permit. And so that's one of the things we ran into yesterday. And we had help from MMDR with snacks and drinks, and, which we're very thankful for. And and lunch and dinner as well. So that's our story for Dwayne, and we're just into a lot of roadblocks. And but that's all I need to say now. But I do have um if it's okay to hear from Dwayne's cousin sister as well, who's been also advocating on behalf of the family. Um, if that's okay, Cardi, Crowdy.
Yeah. Yes. That's
Okay. Okay, she's right here. Just put on speaker.
Okay. Good morning.
oh yeah, they
My name is Sharon Watson. My excuse me, National sitting na Jenny Basistin. And originally from the Nebato Rocky Ridge Hard Rock area. Our family is originally from the Nebato area, so Dwayne's family, and we're my Deshkizhny. And Dwayne is, Adenegechagoy, Shitsila. He's my little brother. My aunt is the younger sister of my mom. My mom's the eldest of the family. And so I grew up with Dwayne. He was my little brother. A really sweet and kind and caring person. And when he went missing from us in 2011, it didn't affect just his immediate family. It affected us all because we're one big, large family, very close family. So everybody in my family is feeling the pain of his loss since 2011. We have held out hope that someday he's going to walk through the doors, come home. And my aunt and my aunt are very close, and we spent many years with our tears and keeping hope alive that he's going to come home. And she unexpectedly, and she, to the day she died, she didn't give up. She didn't give up hope. And so in honor of her, and then we're working in March of this year. It's our first sight of hope. There's a chance that you may find him. It may be unalive. It's going to bring us closer, bring us the answers. But right now, that's the roadblock there because not getting the support we would get. We found the human remains, and we thought, it's for sure people are gonna want to help. It's a life. If it's not Dwayne.
okay, let me do a quick sound check. Tatiana, did we lose Delane and Dwayne's family?
Yes, we did.
Okay, I know that they're walking, they're continuing to walk. So Vanji, did you want to provide some additional information? What I'm hearing from the family is their request is to get an update. It sounds like from the Albuquerque investigators, the action is needed is from Navajo Nation CI. And I could ask that follow-up right now if that's the ask from the family. I just want to make sure that I'm clear from what I heard right now. Vanji?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yes, I spent the day with Dwayne's family, and they started to walk from Red Mesa, and that is The main reason they are walking is, sorry.
It was on mute.
Oh, Delane, we lost you for a minute.
Okay, I'll give it
Uh,
back to her.
Okay.
Sorry, we're walking down from La Clabato, so we're in and out of service. I don't
Okay.
know how much of what I said you've heard, but
We heard most of it. We heard most of
yeah.
it. We do have
So we're
go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
Go
no, no.
ahead. Oh, well, like I was saying, we're just walking where the focus for our walk is to try to get the Strip Rock Police Department, the CI, to push forward the investigation by allowing those bones to be tested, or the skull to be tested. Back in June, we found a human skull, and May.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, back in May, we found a human skull. They've had it since June, or sent it off to Albuquerque. So we've been waiting 6 months to hear something. And the last we know that it has not been approved um, by the PD or the CI in Shiprock. There was also a disc that was turned into them when Dwayne first went missing, and it was a CT scan of his head, and that went missing. We've been asking for it. We've been trying to find out what happened to it because that could help us identify it. And then we also found out that they never declared Dwayne missing from just the Shiprock PD. Never put him down as missing. And we don't have any ill intent. I want to make that clear. We don't have any ill intent. We just want answers. We want help. We want our brother. If that is our brother, we need the closure. We need to be able to put him to rest. And that is the goal of this. We're going to the extreme of walking from Red Mesa to Shiprock in the cold. And it hasn't been an easy walk. We've had challenges along the way, but we just keep praying. And we're doing this for elders that are in our family, for our aunt, in memory of our aunt and mom that left us before she could find out what happened. So we're pleading with anyone to help support us, to help bring closure for us. And if it's not Dwayne's remains, it'll bring closure for someone out there, some other family that is searching. We can't ignore that there's human remains out there. A skull was found, a human skull. That has to mean something. So thank you for giving us this chance to talk and plead with anyone that's listening to help us and to not let this walk be for nothing.
Right.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And what our goal is to make, I understand the awareness walk is to get answers from leaders. So what we've been able to do, I'm going to go to Malcolm, and Malcolm Shiaj, what can we do now so that the family can set up a meeting with you and your team on understanding what the process is, like the next steps, so that we can make sure, well, first of all, for safety reasons, that they shouldn't be out in the cold and walking. I do respect that every family makes the best decisions for themselves, but I think this can, in this call and right now with the leadership that we have on the call, and I want to thank Vice President Rochelle Montoya for joining us, that we could at least have a plan right now, and so that the family can hopefully feel like that's enough to stop the walk, and that your team then is able to sit down and get them the answers that they need. Malcolm, did you want to provide any insight or what we can do um, in hearing this and knowing the circumstance? What could be our next steps and how can we support? Malcolm, Shiaj, Director Leslie, you have the floor.
Good morning again. Um, Listening to this, and I'm not going to second guess. I'm not going to say this and that. But what really becomes of this is right now I'm hearing confusion. And what I need to do is get with my supervisor there in Shiprock and with the CI, and if there's a victim advocate attached to this or assigned to this, get them all together and sit down with the family and make sure that this is what is this explained to one person. To me, it seems like they're giving out information, but it's not going to the right person. And as far as the processing goes, this is where a lot of people get the wrong idea that there's nothing being done. But as far as getting this evidence, this or any type of human remains found, and depending on how old it is, and judging from what I hear, it's been a while, but there's specialties in the scientific realms as far as pathology is concerned. It's not just one doctor who can analyze certain things. It's a mixture of a whole lot of people, and finding the right person that can extract this DNA or any type of forensic DNA from bones. It's hard. It's harder and harder each time. And the last time I talked to the supervisor, I okayed it based on the funding that we have gotten from the MMIP, and this is where some of the money goes to. This is really what it's for. And I told them there's by all means we have the funding for it. Because of that, we need to find the specialists if we need to. And they've been shopping around, they've been asking around, and that's where they're at with this. But as far as the communication, I can't say anything about that. But what I can do is spearhead the connection that we can make with the family. And it seems like that's where the problem is the breakdown in communication. And there's only like 3 investigators in Shiprock, and they've been getting really overwhelmed. And it's like that all over the nation. No excuses, but I will sit down with the supervisor and have him start this thing in motion. And right now he's homesick, but I can reach out and find out who's running the shop today and start from there. So we can go that round. But as far as the skull is concerned, yes, that has been sent off. That is being prepped, and there's a lot of things that need to be explained to the family. And I don't know if that has been, or but we can do it again as far as how we're proceeding with this. And I agree. I agree wholeheartedly that that's why I'm in this position. That's why a lot of the people that I work for, that we're in this position because we want to bring closure to the family. They're compassionate, and they want to make sure that we bring closure. And then that's why we're also death investigators. So a lot of this stuff really comes in handy when it comes to these things. But explaining, not everybody's good at explaining what they need to. So what's going to happen is I'm going to sit down with the supervisor, and we're going to make that call and get everybody that needs to be involved. So there's no rocks left unturned for the family, so they can understand where this is coming from. And it seems like it's needed that we sit down with them. And in the area where all of this stuff occurred, the discovery of these human remains, I agree. It really brings into the training that I've been to when I went to New York. When you have these collisions that occur with helicopters, planes, you have parts of human remains scattered all over the place. And that's where our training comes from. We want to make sure we identify these people properly and we get the remains to the family that are looking for closure. And if it's not Dwayne, then we got to let the family know. But we will be diligent in this, where we want to stay ethical and with the family, but there's also things that we can't disclose, and we'll also explain that to them and for the reasons why we'll not just leave them walking away with more questions than answers. So I apologize if that's occurring, and we'll get to the bottom of this. I'll get to the bottom of this, and we'll get this thing straightened out and headed in the right direction. And hopefully we can find that pathologist, and that I'm pretty sure if they haven't already found one, that we're shopping. We're looking around for somebody that can do this thing perfectly, and we get the right answers that we're looking for. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Chef. Dr. Leslie.
Um,
Oh, Delane, go ahead.
this is Sharon.
Oh, Sharon, go ahead.
We have we do have actually, let me have Denlane explain this a little bit better because she knows a little bit more. Well, okay, so she's busy right at the moment. So we have the medical examiner in Albuquerque who has reached out to Denlane by phone, by email, and they are willing to test it. They're just waiting for what they said is they're waiting for the okay from Navajo Nation to do it. And the anthropologist team also made contact by email, trying to make contact with the CI that we were told was in charge by email to come out with their own team to do a search. And they are frustrated. They expressed their frustration over there because they were told, or they weren't told emails. There's no phone calls, no answered phone calls. And hence the reason why we're out here, because we're not the only ones frustrated here. So that's just a little bit more info on where we're at with this as far as anthropologists go. And this is from Albuquerque's office
Okay, thank you, Sharon, for
back in September.
okay, I'm sorry, you cut out for a minute. Okay, back in September.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I know that. So what I want to do we have a commitment from Navajo Nation criminal investigator director. So the director of the department is who you just heard from, who said he will, get his team together and connect with your family for an update. Do you have an advocate right now? Is there anyone that you're working with from victim or victim witness services of Northern Arizona by chance?
No.
So let's connect, because what the advocate can do is help with the coordination of communication between the family and law enforcement. And so, Chanela, Laurel, you're on the line. Has there been some communication, or is this a great time to connect the family, or do they prefer working with another advocate? I just want to make sure we have all of the information that we need.
Yeah, I met with I think it's Delane early on. Um when and I definitely sent this to another advocate, and I touched base with her yesterday, and she says she tried calling, and so that's definitely a breakdown on our end. I didn't last information we had was that it had been sent out for testing, DNA testing, and so this is definitely an update for us. I did ask the new advocate assigned to reach out, so I think that's something that they've been doing over the past couple days. So hopefully she makes contact with somebody there.
Okay. All right. But Sharon, are
Laurel?
you the okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Laurel, this is Sharon.
Oh, hi, Sharon.
You're familiar with me. Hi,
Yes.
Sharon. Laurel. Laurel is connected to us we're from the same community of Rocky Ridge, so
Mhm.
Laurel is familiar with us. If you could, I ask you also communicate with me. Then Lane and I are the 2 point people, and Davina, the sister, Dwayne's sister, is also a point person. So between the three of us, there's three options to reach out to, as far as communication goes.
Okay.
Because one, we each have our own roles in it, and so there's three options, and since you know us, I'd really appreciate your help in this and helping us with advocacy and whatever we can do. I think I've spoke to you before on it as well.
Okay. Great. So I'm glad that there's now, so that's clarity on our part in terms of communication between the family, understanding that there's three points of contacts that will help, and the advocate will lean on the advocates to make sure then this is where, communication, if there's three, then the three will be meeting with CI is my understanding. And so Laurel, your team will be able to work with the CI team there to schedule that family update meeting.
For sure. I'll touch base with Malcolm here shortly.
Abiga. Okay, great. So Malcolm, I just wanted to let you know on your end, it'll be Laurel and her team. And so I wanted to make sure that communication was established as we move forward and getting the correct information. And what would be great for us, Laurel, on our side is, continuing to work with CI and understanding what kind of internal process for any case, what that takes when evidence has to be sent out. Or if it's a unique case by case, that's something that's good for us to know as community advocates and advocates working directly with the family, because we would need to know what kind of questions to ask CI so that that we're, at least we're aware of what the process looks like. And on my end, because Malcolm or CI did mention the additional funding that this task force recommends, we want to make sure that that funding is available for not only this case but other cases to help the families. So on my end, that's always something that would be helpful. So I would lean on the advocates to make sure that we have that conversation on what it exactly costs to process all of this evidence and for the family. So I'm moving forward. I'm having some tribal consultations in a few weeks on with the Office of Violence Against Women, and we'll be including a lot of this information in terms of just some of the challenges when it comes to evidence processing and how it's important for Indian country and for Navajo Nation to get funding for these specialized evidence. It costs more and more as you specialize, and so it's definitely not like the TV, but we do want to bring some DNA. We're working on the office of the medical examiner, and that's some of the conversation we'll get to when we start talking about the Title 14 and Title 17 amendments. So if you could be that bridge and help us just understand that dynamic, I think that'll also be helpful for other families knowing what that process looks like. Okay. So appreciate it. I did see, let's see, I'm sorry, Vice President Shadeja Rochelle Montoya, did you want to, I did see your chat, so I just wanted to give you some time if you have any words of encouragement or some next steps. What we're doing is we meet every Tuesday at this time, not only to help families, but also move forward with some of our work and reforming Navajo Nation laws and the processes. So thank you for joining the call. We really would want to see more participation from Navajo Nation programs because right now everybody except the CI are non-Navajo programs. So they're community-based networks, and we would really, really need Navajo Nation programs to interweave with their resources that they have to help support the families. Because right now we're talking about search, we're talking about evidence and the criminal aspect. What the family also needs is a holistic support network when it comes to like behavioral or mental health and other resources to help the family navigate this really stressful time. Vice President, do you want to unmute?
Oh, Yat A Anatol. Especially I had nidation Shiaj Malcolm Leslie Quaggy and Hitch a Hainsy do but it's Jana in la di Quaggy but la hot ediki height out or nito Hena Badedish killed the Nigo Ba Hainsy. And Mr. Leslie, I just would appreciate any type of update for the family at this time. That's what I always let the families know, and I let our departments know. Even if you just say, "Hey, we're still at a standstill," at least that's some kind of feedback that the families can have. And when that happens, then at least they have that to take back to their families, and that they also know that it's still on the minds and in the works with our Navajo Nation Police Department. And then, of course, having that collaboration with the other entities across the United States when it comes to identifying and getting the information that we need. But and we look forward to hearing from you. And I'm very sure the family looks forward to hearing from you and what you find out and how that happens. Aro koro shik e kaigi e hio kaigi do be e hilta holna agi do de no je hiki a yoshi ba hins ya he duns and family a mado a jado yilhe je dan linigi kaigi be big en linigi but hits a do ba ho zinigi do that's in hits a do kompets is holonigi Behenito to actually be out there and advocating for answers is a hard task. And I just want to say, please stay safe, please stay warm, stay hydrated. And I know that your efforts are appreciated by the families and, of course, by the person who is missing or who is murdered. They want they want to be found or they want to have justice in the circumstances that they got themselves into or they stumbled into. Ni hut adi kwagi ni Navajo Nation dain nishiki ayo eya hlati. It gets frustrating. Even as vice president of the Navajo Nation, I'm limited to who will work with me and who I can actually talk to. And when I do find somebody to work with in certain departments, all I can say is these people have a heart for the people because regardless of what instructions they're given about me, they continue to work with me to get answers for some of the families out there. And so all I can say is Sodizin prayer is our best way of dealing with all of this non-communication that happens. And I just continue to push. I can continue to write my emails. I continue to ask for updates in regards to the missing persons on our Navajo Nation. As you all know, our missing persons unit is not in place right now. That's the last that I heard. I haven't heard if anybody else has put it back together. But I continue to question our leadership in that division as to how we're helping our people that are missing. In other ways. And I understand that. I understand that we have a very low workforce group of people that work. But again, our families need answers. Our families need help. Our families need support. And that's what I'm here for. So however way I can try and get some answers for you, I will continue to do that. Shike and Ashonde soldados zen to be ehen ni hiki to hait au estero ni hiki ya baya del tieto dik al kwagi shade council delegate Amber Dikushi, years yanatnish. I'm sure she was working on this before it even became such a spotlighted issue. And I just want to say I appreciate each and every one of you for helping any of our families with the loss of their family members. I know that's a hard thing to do and to hold on to, but do your very best because you can't help anybody else if you're not 100%. So please take care of yourselves and be that 100% support system for our families that are needing us to help them. Bayad altkito beniya ehinda kagido kwagi legislative branch do bitin dalne shiki bahe danitsin ko shade I'll console dole.
Oh yeah, Shadija, thank you. Appreciate it. I just wanted to go, I'm going to go back to the family, Delane. So what I want to just make sure is, so the walk, in terms of now connecting you with the advocate who will help connect to the CI, please let us know, or as a family, are you going to make a decision to continue with the walk? I'm just really concerned with the safety aspect of it and the weather. And so I'll do my very best to make sure you get the information that you need. Tell me how you're feeling now, and if you feel like the family still wants to move forward with the walk, what we'll do is I could reach out to the New Mexico, because now you're on the New Mexico side and with Biclabato, and that's a chapter in the district that I represent. So we could reach, because there's a lot of construction on that highway that you'll be coming up to. So I just want to make sure you're safe. So I'm going to now focus on like a safety plan for you and your family. What can we do to support the family now so that you get the information that you need, and how do you feel moving forward? Because whichever decision you make, I just want to make sure we have a safety plan right now. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we kind of lost service when you were talking. We came back up to the hill to if you could
It's all right there through, yeah.
repeat.
Just delaying now,
Yeah.
hearing from CI, and that they're going to set up a meeting with the family and through your advocate, working with the advocate. I'm concerned about safety. So if you continue to walk, just let us know if the family plans to continue to walk, and then how we could help with the safety plan, or if we could use this time, because our call ends here at 10, and definitely Laurel and everybody can drop off to help support the family, because you need to get into a place with communication, and so that you can coordinate that meeting with the CI director. We might have lost them. That's an area that has literally no communication. So Delane, you're on mute if you're talking. I'm sorry. She may not be able to hear us. Oh, yes. Okay. Delane.
Okay.
Vanjie, I know we're having some communication issues. If you could just, let's echo that out. If anything, we need a safety plan. Because that is a very congested area. I just want to echo Ed, the reason why that area is being, highlighted in that whole stretch is that is a high, a really like red, dangerous area when you start getting to the red wash area. And so my concern, and want to respect that the family is walking, but how could we get them we need to have a safety plan, and I just
I
want to
think
make sure.
I think they're
Okay,
going to
go ahead.
continue to walk.
Okay,
Is because ADOT can't be reached. Can PD step in and help them?
right. So they're no longer on the Arizona side of the highway.
No, they're
This
not.
is all
They're
jurisdiction. They're on New Mexico side now. I could
yes.
reach out to the road supervisor, but that's all construction area. And, that's like the areas where the bridge is, washed out. Um, so, so if the family is going to continue, we could make the request to PD. I do have, Shiaj here has been on the call, Deputy Chief Williams. Deputy Chief Williams, do you have any suggestions for us in terms of how we could support the family and what that looks like as they continue to walk from Biclabato to the Shiprock area?
Let's go see if we can contact, see for what mileposts we're at or what location, and I can send it
Okay.
over there.
Okay. So, Vanjie, since Delane, it still looks like she may have some communication. Um, Vanjie, do you have direct contact with police department? If not, send it in that text group. And we could get the information to PD. I saw that Yolanda was on the line. Is that Yolanda Azua? Okay, you don't? Okay, just send us the milepost, the information on that text group, and I'll make sure to send it out right now. Yolanda, is this Yolanda Azua with the president's office?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, I saw on some of the chat.
I
Oh, I'm
have a
glad that
whole
you're
new system, and I'm working on New Mexico DOT right now, and the Miss Hatatli from Arizona DOT has not responded, but they are on a state road. As soon as they hit Navajo Nation or on Navajo Nation Road, Navajo Nation PD can pick up for safety, but Mr. Williams has more authority than what I was told. So we're working on the safety plan right now for them.
okay. Appreciate it, Yolanda. So, uh, Laurel, as the advocate, manager and lead, if you could just help me and gather, just make sure that we have communication with the family. If you're not able to get communication with them, I can ask someone from our Biclabato CERT team, because they have a certified emergency response team, just to do like a wellness check, just to see where they're at. If we could get that communication to our Navajo Nation Deputy Chief Williams. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
for
that will
sure.
be
I
the
did
next
send an
step.
email to Malcolm to see if we can set something up, and if needed, I can get like today, and then hopefully, if I can get word back right away, we can get an advocate out there and start that process. But I sent an email, so working on the background here.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So that will be everyone's communication. So we've identified Laurel Shepard's team with Victim Witness Services as an advocate for the family. It'll be Delane, Sharon, and the sister as the point of contact for the family. They'll be reaching out to CI Director Leslie for an update. Vanjie, if you could just continue to help see where the family is at, and so we could, and once you send our text group, or you could send it directly to Laurel, our text group, and then we could get that information to Deputy Chief, and we'll keep Yolanda with the Office of the President and Vice President updated, and just to continue to make sure we have that safety plan for everyone there. So I appreciate it. Thank you. That that really stressed me out. I'm not saying that, just I just want to make sure everyone's safe, and we're still trying to heal from what happened in Kienta, and so we just want to make sure everybody's safe in the work that we're doing. The family, the advocates, law enforcement. We just want to make sure everyone's okay. Andrea, you have your hand up.
Yes, I did. I just got a text message from Dan Laney, and she said if they could possibly meet with someone today, that would be great. She did say they are having connection issues, but she just wanted to let us know that if they could meet with someone today, they greatly appreciate that.
Okay, great. That's our goal. So if you could just echo that information out. Vanji, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. Before I lose service because it's in a sketchy area, I was wondering. This is a different subject. It's actually my own request. I had sent out 2 emails, one to Yolanda and one to Charlene. I believe that's who works for Boo, the secretary. But I want to see if I can be able to have a meeting. And I also saw that VP Montoya was on the call, and I would like to include her as well. I would like to sit down after the update and breakthrough on Zachariah's case. Just on his case, and wanting support, from them. I do have some questions about our Navajo Nation law, and if we could, somehow connect me so that I could, get a meeting in with them, and if you would be able to attend that as well, Delegate Crotty.
Okay, appreciate it. Vanji, and I know you're in a dual role as also being an advocate, but do you have an advocate through UNHS?
No, I don't. I do have a victims advocate through the FBI, but
Okay.
not through UNHS.
Okay, did you want me to reach out and get an advocate because they could help with the coordination on the Navajo Nation side? Or it's completely up to you in your capacity and where you think you're at?
I think I am okay. I
Okay,
would like them to, focus on the other families.
okay,
I think I'm doing okay as far as, my own forms of communication. I just need some help getting a meeting set up with President and VP, myself,
okay,
and with you included.
okay. All right, we'll do that. Appreciate that. So, Vice President and Yolanda, do you have any or Yolanda, do you have that request? And could you give us an update on that request from Vanji to meet regarding her son's case? Yolanda, you're on mute.
Hello?
Yep, we could hear you now.
Okay, I did put in a request, but the request only has Vanji, because at the time I put it in, she asked that she would like to meet with President Nygren, and she was the only one on the request, so I would have to submit another request with her asking to have you join her and Vice President. So I'll put that in again, and then President schedulers will reach out to her.
Okay, Yolanda, let me just clarify though, not understanding the internal process. If you have to submit a new request, is this just updating the original request or will this delay from when you submitted your first initial request? What I
No,
don't want to do is delay the
no,
meeting. I don't mind updating, but not delaying.
no, I just need to add the number of people she is asking for to meet with the president, because I just submitted her name.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I need to just add your name and Vice President's name to the request.
Okay. All right. And let me know, you have my cell phone, text me if you need any additional information on my part, if that's what's needed for the request form. I could provide that.
Okay,
Appreciate
okay.
it. Thank you. Vice President, I see your hands raised.
Oh, for everybody here on the call, I put Josie's contact information in the chat, her email and her cell phone number. That's who you can coordinate with to set up any meetings or ask if you need any help with anything, Josie's the person to go to for the vice president. I don't have communication with the president's staff when it comes to things like that. So I put that in the chat, and I can meet as soon as you connect with Josie, she can set up a meeting with you guys.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. So we'll coordinate that on our end and keep Vanjie updated. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I want to do now is we wanted to continue in the conversation that Missing and Murdered and Their Relatives Task Force had their joint session with Navajo Nation Law and Order Committee meeting just prior to the holiday break. Unfortunately, because of a family emergency, I wasn't able to attend in person, but I was online. And so I wanted to see Tatiana just let me know in terms of if you wanted to give like a high level summary, or Laurel, and we could see what were the recommendations in that discussion, especially when it comes to advocates. And I do know there's been an outcry from the community for Navajo Nation to expedite and pass the reforms, especially when, as more community members are being educated about the Tribal Law and Order Act and the constraints on the nation for like maximum sentencing because of federal laws like the Major Crime Act. So I do see that we have Mr. Barnett with the prosecutor's office on the line. So I do see that there's going to be a need for a lot of community education and what is our work and how we lobby at the federal level to change some of these laws to allow Navajo Nation to maximize some of these sentencing provisions. But I wanted to first talk about the victim advocates, and then we could talk about what are going to be the future conversations. So Kevin, what I was able to do was we pulled up a really great presentation by the Office of the Prosecutor Advocates that was in Navajo and English, talking about the current Victim Rights Act. I just want to make sure we highlight that, Tatiana. And so, because that kind of can be the primer of some of the work we completed maybe 2 years ago and how it's being implemented. And now with these reforms, some of the enhancements. So I'm just trying to juggle or to balance out the need for the community to understand, the historical context of where we're at and why we have some of these constraints, and then what's the opportunity for Navajo Nation leadership to change and reform the laws to meet the needs of our community members in the year 2025 and moving forward, especially when it came to statute of limitation. Let me just go with Laurel first. Laurel, can you give me an idea of what were some of the suggestions, or if you have something you want to share on the screen from that conversation, so that we could make sure as a task force we're aware. I believe everybody on this call should have the document. It is a very dense document. It's over 300 pages. So what we're trying to do from our presentation 2 weeks ago is I extracted areas that we felt collectively would be some of the priorities for the Missing and Murdered and Their Relatives Task Force. And so we can go over some of those provisions, but I would want to go over some of the recommendations first. So Shanola, can you give us an idea of what was discussed and how we can continue to support that conversation? I think it's at the final end stage of ready to legislate. And so I am pushing our office, the legislative council, to get that ready for me so that I can put it into the 5-day comment period and try to really just focus in on getting those reforms passed. So Shanola, you have the floor.
Hi, Yeti. Thank you. I'll make it brief, but it went through how it started was the presentation that we've heard a few times now from the Office of the Prosecutor, the same slides. That's what they started with initially, and then I believe the chair, Eugenia Charles, I always mess up her last names. I use them interchangeably.
Charles Newton.
Charles Newton. Okay. Suggested to the team that we go through and look at all the changes made line by line. And so that's what we started doing. And we got to the portion with the victim advocate portion. But it sounds like this is already with the legislative council. And from how it was presented, it's looks like it was finalized, and a lot of the changes were amendments that are being proposed were completed with Office of the Prosecutor and I think the uh, defense, what do they call? Public Defender's Office. So some of our suggestions weren't I guess really applicable, but they did take some suggestions and pieces for possible future changes, but I definitely did advocate on pieces where um, we need to figure out how to educate our Navajo Nation programs, first responders, and courts, and anybody who has any interaction with victims, um, but more education on the victim rights because it's being interpreted differently. And I had also noticed that it was across different titles. So how people are interpreting it is different, and maybe we should one of my recommendations was to put the victim rights as a bill of rights instead of putting it into tying it to specific codes. Like for example, I've been told multiple times that the victim rights only apply to charges where there is family violence charges. And so that really leaves out a whole chunk of other victims. And I believe how it was explained to me at that last meeting, the work session, was that is not the case, but it's definitely being interpreted differently across some very important programs or entities across the Navajo Nation. So some of those were made, and then I did a lot of advocacy on how some of the stuff is written when it comes to stay away orders and victim rights, and having them to also apply for orders of protection in regards to some of these cases where it should already be something that is standing. And so that was definitely something that I highlighted and think that we should consider to make sure that it goes through, those suggestions go through on the final documents that go to the comment period. So, but we didn't get through all of it, and definitely I think they were supposed to schedule another one, but I don't know if it'll be done before winter session. So, I'll leave it at that, and I'll leave it to the rest of the team that was there.
Okay, Tatiana, do you have any, I appreciate that you're putting everything into the chat, but in terms of those recommendations, do we have the meeting and summary notes so that we can review what was recommended? So here's a little bit of, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but a way a legislation is proposed is, so I'll be sponsoring the legislation, and we'll have co-sponsors. Areas that this task force wants to make recommendations, and that's why we're having these meetings, is the way that the office of the prosecutor and the public defender, they have met collectively. It's been a lot of communication and coordination, but if there's specific recommendations from the task force, then that's where it's my job to work on those suggestions and amendments with those entities. So legislations as they're legislated there, and you could look at the cover page, it always says, you know, this is just a start, there could be amendments, and that's when we start working with the different entities and Navajo Nation leadership. So I just want to reassure that the task force, that the recommendations collectively that we make could at this round be possibly included if that work is completed. And if there's additional work that needs to be done, we can continue to work on that as we push forward some of these other major reforms that are needed to help stabilize our laws at this point. So just clarification there. Even if there's and another public, announcement is the 5-day comment period is just a hold that council, we passed a law to at least hold no action be done on the legislation. So the public, that's when you need notice. You have questions, you make comments, but you can make comments through the life of the legislation. And the life of the legislation means until there's a final vote at council, you can make comments and recommendations. So that's what I meant, where we'll also have to do some public education in terms of how the public engages with these reforms. And there's also other requests that I'm receiving that that may or may not be part of these current reforms. And again, we'll continue to work on it. But I looked back at my notes, and I've been working on this since 2016. And when some of the first, public summits were happening then. So it really is time, like 10 years later, to get some of this work or some of these laws updated, and knowing that the work will continue. So just want to make sure that that everybody on this team knows it's a lengthy document, and I hope Twyla, were you able for the slides? Were you able to format that in any way, or I did provide a link for the slides, but we may need to make sure it's on some type of web page or website so that the public can see at least a breakdown for some of the sections that we're reviewing as the Missing and Murdered and Relatives Task Force.
Good morning, Shade. You want me to go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just give me a couple minutes.
Sure. Okay, so while you queue that up, I do want to thank, we did get the pictures on the location of the family. So it looks like, well, thank you, Vanjie, for sending that. So it looks like we'll get the milepost number out to police department. So I just want to do a time check. We're at 9:50. I know usually we end, at 10 o'clock. If you have to transition off of the call, that's perfectly fine. What we'll do is we'll go through these slides, and then if there's any additional information or where collectively we could say where were the recommendations at, and if they're not part of the slides, at least that section, then at least we could create a new slide. But I did hear someone, I'm sorry, get back to my screen.
I think that was me.
Sure, Angie, go ahead.
Can you hear me? We're at milepost 5.
Okay, milepost 5. All right,
Yes.
thank you.
And the family is going to continue to walk. I have Davina here with me. So if you want to say something, they can hear you. Hello.
Okay. All right. We did request from Deputy Chief Williams, and he did request what milepost you were at. So now we know that you're at milepost 5. Well, I'm sure he can work with his team to see what type of escort they could provide or what type of resources they could provide.
Thank you.
And we'll still continue. I think Yolanda's still working on the state aspect of the permitting. Okay. Alrighty, thank you for that update. So Twyla, just go ahead and share your screen one more time. And so Kevin, I know you've been on the call. I appreciate your time and your energy. Did you want us to say anything? I know that you presented to the task force maybe 3 months ago, so we appreciate that you're on the call today. And so we do want to make sure that if you don't know what areas that we're focused.
Moccasins were hurting her yesterday. She's during the weekend.
Oh, Vanjie, we could hear you. And then Yolanda, you're off mute. Did you want to say something? Okay. All right, let's go back to Kevin. Barnett with the Office of the Prosecutor. So Kevin, are you just listening, or did you want to kind of give some insight from the meeting with the Law and Order Committee, the joint meeting with the Law and Order Committee and Missing and Murdered in Their Relatives Task Force?
Sure. So of course, I am Kevin C. Barnett. I am based in the Tahi German clan, born for Davahalchi, the Irish people clan. Um, I speak my heritage language, German. I always like to introduce that. I don't have any specific points that I'd like to address. The Title 17 amendments are fairly complex, and there's a lot of nuance behind them. And if there's any specific questions you have as to any of those nuances in the next so many minutes, I'm happy to address them to the extent that I'm able. But that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. So I think in terms of Kevin, how we could move forward, we'll share. So the slides on here is, we just took certain sections that we're reviewing, and then we'll work with some of the recommendations, and then collectively we could send it out to you and your team and for the public defender. And just getting an idea of where we're at and what are the recommendations moving forward. And we'll gauge if there's an opportunity to create some possible amendment language, but understanding because of the complexity, like that domino effect. So if we, change one, aspect, how does that impact all of the other reforms or current laws? So that's where I'll need, and I hope to get you that information so that at least you have a heads up on your end. And it looks right now it's going to be focused in what I'm hearing from Ms. Shepherd is more the Victim Rights Act and the interpretation. So we'll see if there's language that needs to be enhanced in that section. We'll look at, or maybe you could give us an idea. Did you ever consider having the victim rights as its own section as a Bill of Rights? Or help us understand why it's integrated through the laws as, practicing prosecutor, just help us understand those different distinctions.
Sure. So, of course, the Victims' Rights Act of 2023, CAU 77, 2023, moved the former victims' rights language, which was at 17 NNC Section 537, which is part of the Violence Against Family Act. That's subchapter 15 of Chapter 3 of Title 17, such that when it wasn't at Section 537, those rights solely affected Violence Against Family Act offenses. However, there is no statute at 537 presently because of the Victims' Rights Act of 2023, which moved Section 537 in its entirety to Section 230, meaning that it applies throughout the entirety of Title 17. So the mistake of some people in the legal realm that the victims' rights provisions, which were formerly at 537, that they still only apply to Violence Against Family Act cases is incorrect. And I don't know that necessarily adding a statute to that or adding language to the statute would change that. I think that's just something that has to be corrected in its own time. And I guess I'm not immediately clear how having its own Bill of Rights would be separate from what it already is, given that these rights affect, pre-charging, charging, being prosecuted cases through the resolution of cases. These rights are tied to criminal cases, and they apply at various stages, such that, a stay-away order, that was a topic that was brought up. Those can be requested by the Office of the Prosecutor at arraignment. Those don't automatically attach, but those are tools that I frequently cite when I'm prosecuting in the Kiemta district. Those are statutes that I cite to ask for stay-away orders under the rules of criminal procedure. So I'm not sure that having them be, I don't know if it would be their own title, if it would be, cabining them in a more separate area than they already are. I think they're already in their own area that applies to all of Title 17 and, by extension, the criminal portion of Title 14. So I guess that would be my thoughts. Of course, the chief prosecutor makes ultimate policy determinations for our office and can be the ultimate answer for any of these questions. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. So that's just some insight. Laurel, in terms of Twyla, can you go to the slide regarding victim rights so everyone on the call, if they're able to see, these are all right here. So these are all of the areas that we're really looking at. So it's good to know from the prosecutor side in terms of, some of the logic on where the language is included in the practical sense on how it would be, the operational sense. What we can also do, Mr. Barnett, what I'm looking at is there is, and I understand, the capacity building for the Office of the Prosecutor. It's another area where the Missing and Murdered and Their Relatives Task Force continues to support and recommend additional funding, which includes, the major crimes unit and hoping to sustain the victim advocates and their needs in the office. But looking at if we could talk about, I've seen at the state level, I believe it might have been the county, that they actually have someone in their office who monitors the Victim Rights Act. And so if that's something that could also be like we could start planning that out, as because what I'm developing is I'm going to develop like a fund, a permanent fund to enact or to sustain the Navajo Nation Victim Rights Act. And this could be an individual who's monitoring and also could provide like that training or, follow some of these, take and provide that education, those resources. But it looks like it's more, it is an attorney, and it's just to make sure that the nation is in fact utilizing that provision and that individuals' rights are being respected. So that's something if we could have a conversation in the future. And on my end, I could get a little bit more information if you're not familiar with that type of position. I think I'm asking a few folks from our network, and we've been working also with the Arizona Attorney General's office, their tribal liaison. She joins our calls and has volunteered to help us assist with some of, what training is available, what are some of the best practices. And so I'd like to, again, just we just come together at a time in the future and talk about what that could look like. Laurel, Shanella, did you have any okay, so there is some chat going on with Vanji. So Laurel, did you want to help with that conversation and reach out to the family on in terms of who's assigned to the case and just to help support them?
Yeah, I'm working on well, we're on the call.
Okay, because I know that Del West is the supervisor. So just want to make sure they know when they see someone's name and number that they understand, how that works out in terms of the structure of CI. Thank you. And so I know that you're multitasking. Did you want to say anything else in terms of the victim rights portion of the reforms?
No, I don't have anything else right now. We didn't get very far because we were going line by line with all the changes. So that was,
it could be very, yeah.
I definitely
Yes.
highly suggest that the team maybe take a look at all the changes and see what stands out to them. And then maybe we can refine and have a conversation about that and make recommendations as a team. Yeah,
Okay.
so I think that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, because I think at this point, and for everybody on the call, you could hear how complex this could be, and we are going to try to make sure that we can. We definitely need to educate the community and the public on the changes. But if there's any areas that you feel like is a no-go, like that will cause harm to our families, our community members, task force members, those who are on the line, advocates, that's what we need to hear right now. We need to hear if you feel that there's proposed language or proposed that would cause harm, that would not, support some of the efforts that collectively we've been working on. That would be helpful for me at this time, and we'll continue with that education and what might happen. And it's not, what everybody wants, but if there's other areas of the law that and this is what happened at the last council, there was areas of the law that become controversial, and um, it'll delay the majority of the laws to be reformed. That's also something we may need to consider as delegates and leadership review it line by line. So we're also monitoring if there's other areas that are not, that we're not concentrating on, but maybe another delegate has an issue with another part of the revision. Then we'll see if something has to be. We don't want to stand alone, and that's why we want to have these conversations and hopefully enough time to get this work through the process. It's so that's where we're at. Okay, thank you. I wanted to ask from the slides here, and I think Twyla, just make sure the slide link is shared in the chat. If anyone on who's still on the call, Tiona, I know as an advocate, if you wanted just to maybe talk about the victim rights section. I'm not sure if you've been able to look at that language, but I'll invite you to look at that language. And I know Sunshine, as the community representative, you're helping us organize, the advocate section. I think you guys are meeting every Friday, so I appreciate that. If you have any insight, and for Vice President Montoya, the group here, we hope to put everything like on a shared drive, because not everybody's has a Navajo SNN government email, so we can't do a shared drive. So we're using a Google Drive. So these documents are available. Just want to make sure that you know where to find access to them. They're just like resources, and what we'll do is we'll come back next Tuesday. So every Tuesday we'll be having this conversation, and I'll give you an update if we're able, like what is the absolute soonest time we can get this through the different standing committees and to get council action. The next council regular meeting is less than a month, so it's very ambitious, but I think that's the type of energy we need, especially with especially like with the statute of limitations, and also in terms of, current crimes that have been committed in this, just recently, that the community is really asking for reforms and to keep this momentum and help support our criminal justice system. So thank you, Twyla, for sharing the slides. Thank you, appreciate it. I just wanted to see, did anybody else have any comments now, or was there a slide or area that you wanted to dive into a little bit more on this call before we end? Okay, sounds like we're really focused on helping Dwayne's family, so I appreciate that from our team here. So Kevin, if there's any recommendations, what I'll do is we could summarize it. We'll send it to you and your team, Director Jackson and Deputy and yourself, and then we could just have a conversation on what that looks like and any other recommendations moving forward. And we'll come back next Tuesday is January 6th. So we'll come back together at 8:30. So please review the documents, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more. I'll try to find some time to do a little bit more community education, and we'll talk with Tatiana and her team on how they plan to provide that information out to the community. Kevin, go ahead.
Yes, just a quick thought. if any of you know any Navajo law students who are graduating, it's a good career to start off as a prosecutor for your tribe. I think a lot of people coming out of law school think that that's not the kind of work that they want to do, but I would submit that you can help the people a great deal by working to promote public safety and accountability on the Navajo Nation. And if anybody has anybody they want to refer, we're always looking for people who are energized and excited to serve the people. So those are just some general thoughts.
Okay, appreciate it, Kevin. So when we connect, let's also talk about the Growing Our Own initiative. So Navajo Nation Scholarship Office, we invest millions of dollars into scholarships. It's never enough. But what I've asked from them is to work with the different programs on what's a critical need. And they do provide, I want to say almost, some of the Navajo law students are getting uh, complete tuition is paid for, but I'm not really sure how they prioritize those applicants and who gets those full scholarships. But we could start talking about, how we could support, either the tribal advocates who want to do the advocate program to start working in the field, or those who want to go into the field and become, future prosecutors, so that we have an idea on their trajectory. And that's what my ask to the scholarship office is. So right now it's just like first come, first serve. And I'm really asking them to look at their data, look at the needs, the immediate needs of the nation, and how we could support those. We do have some advocates who are in our network that would want to become tribal law advocates and possibly maybe go to law school in the future. And so we just need to give them that blueprint and how Navajo Nation can help fund um, those individuals to fill in the gap. But we'll definitely, if there's any graduates out there, we could also start talking to the different universities and seeing how they're promoting or providing, support to those who want to go into the prosecution field. Thank you. And we could talk with Diné College. Milton Bluehouse Jr., who's running their law program, is a task force member, and Twyla Largos with NTU, and they're our partner with MMDR database, and they have their tribal advocate program. So we also can work with them and then have that, because I know that Milton is working with the ASU Law School. And so if we could kind of feed them and support our citizens who want to become prosecutors. Okay, that's my thought right now. So Vice President, maybe that's also something you could help with. I know that you help with education, and we could provide, if you don't have that information on NTU, Diné College, and the scholarship office proposal for, because their higher education fund expired this fiscal year. So we were able to supplement some funding, $14 million this year, but now each of them are asking for an increase. So collectively it would be 30 million. And that's where we have an opportunity to guide the tribal colleges and the scholarship office, so that they're creating opportunities for our relatives, and also meet the demand of, the staff and the personnel and those who have the passion and the heart to work for their people. And in my prior work of being a delegate, we did a study. It's called, you could Google it. It's like Navajo brain drain. And it's actually like 98% of those who've graduated on Navajo Nation who go to college and live off the nation, like they want to return home or they want to give back. And so there's definitely an opportunity there that I don't think we've ever tapped into. And this could be a good time collectively working together. So it's called the Grow Your Own initiative. And we're trying to do this, for healthcare workers, social workers, teachers. We're talking with law enforcement on how they want to, create the opportunity, and talk with students in middle school, high school, so that we create a pipeline and definitely give them the mentorship and support that they need. We recently talked about this on, we have a Navajo Nation Cancer Core working group that I'm part of. And if you ever want to join, we'll make sure you get that information. Vice President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Shada. I appreciate that. You guys are doing something that I have been looking out for, just communicating with the different schools in Navajo Nation and the surrounding Navajo Nation area. As I mentioned before, my sister is a principal at our community's school out in Torreon. And one of the things that she's implemented at her school is inviting Navajo PD who are patrolling in that area to come by if they're there during lunchtime and have lunch at the school for free, which her and her staff all collect money to pay for. But free to the police officers to come inside, sit down with the kiddos and have lunch, and then just give the kiddos a chance to ask them questions and to become more familiar with a police officer in their presence, in their space, that the whole thing about being its scary situation isn't that way anymore. And my sister was mentioning that some of the kids are asking these police officers, so I'm in 5th grade. What do I need to do to make sure that I'm on the right track to become a police officer one day? And so when Mr. Barnett talked about what he talked about, I thought, hey, what about if we have some of our staff go out to the different schools and talk about their jobs, talk about what type of education they got to get there, even talk about the bad parts of going through the process, and then how they got over that and obviously got to the point where they're now attorneys or doctors or nurses or teachers or police officers, just so that our kids know that there's some things that are not going to run smoothly, but there's ways to get through it and to overcome it. So I really like that. That's my input. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. So, Tatiana, if you could just pull, you may have been there, but when we met at NTU Chinle, if you could pull those documents that were presented for the higher education fund, that could be a starting point, and we could continue to work with law enforcement, Director Henderson. This also can be interwoven into the Danette Action Plan. So I know Sunshine is the co-chair. They have a capacity building component. And so it's something that we continue to discuss and have dialogue. But it's always nice to have funding or at least a pilot program to see, what are the capacities, what are the opportunities, and then the threat for us is always making sure that these outlast the different administrations. So whether it's at executive or at, as a council delegate, we need to create systems where they're able to be successful and have the support that they need, beyond our terms. And so that's also something that collectively we could start talking about, especially since next year is an election year. And what I'm trying to do is make sure anyone who joins the work will have like an onboarding, like we'll have an offboarding, and Ms. Shepherd has created this nice onboarding tool. And I'd like to see that happen with every initiative that we're working on, so things do not stop depending on the elected leadership. Salatza, do you have a minute to talk, or you may just be able to be on listening mode, which is understandable. But I just wanted to see if you wanted to talk quickly about the Net Action Plan, because we do have a violent prevention section. So I'm not sure, Kevin, if you're familiar with the Danette Action Plan, and they meet pretty regularly, and I think that would also be another group that we could work with to help support this Grow Your Own initiative and some of these reforms. Sunshine.
Good morning, Delegate Claudia Ebene. This is Samatsa, Jim, or Sunshine. I think we have a lot of opportunity here to tie this into the Danette Action Plan. I think we already are with all the task groups that are working on violence prevention, MMDR, suicide prevention, and also alcohol and substance abuse prevention. So I like the idea of going a little further with capacity building. I know right now, Delegate Crotty, you're the only delegate who has allocated funding for DAP. And, we do need more resources and more funding because when DAP came into existence, it was unfunded. And over time, we're realizing that we need to get more resources out there to families, more victim advocates, things like that. So I think, the more we coordinate with the task force and the amendments that are being recommended for Title 14 and Title 17, it's going to help us a lot with the work we have under the DINA action plan. So thank you.
I appreciate that. So we'll definitely something that we'll need to work on this upcoming quarter. I know we're in the winter season, so it's a time of a lot of reflection, what has worked, what do we need to do as we enter into the spring season. So I just want to make sure if you have any or from our last meeting last week, if there was any like discussions or recommendations, especially when it comes to funding, we could either schedule a meeting or we could have a sit down and talk about what that would look like and how I and then where that funding, like we would have to identify the source of the funding, and then if it's going to be a multi-year, we would just have to like start developing that fund management plan and get support from the public. And hopefully it's before the public hearings. They're usually scheduled in April, May, June. So if we're able to work on it on this season, then we'll be ready when we go out to the public and definitely get their support. And so far, I've heard overwhelming support for this type of work, and the people would like to see additional funding to be allocated to support, taking care of our families, healthier, safer communities, access to jobs and workforce, and just for them to be living in communities of hope. So we'll collectively work on that together. So appreciate all of you. Anything else before we end today's call? I want to thank the advocates and Vanjie for supporting Dwayne Ryan Thomas's family. My hope is that they at least get some of the preliminary answers they're looking for, and we're going to establish like a communication plan and some point of contacts and work together. Right now, we also have a concurrent, event happening in Arizona down at Phoenix. The Arizona State Legislators Indigenous People Caucus, they're having their Missing and Murdered Indigenous People Town Hall. It started at 9. It's going to go until 12. There is a Zoom link, and it'll be at the Arizona State Capitol, Senate Hearing Room 2. I don't know if the link has been put into our chat, but it's bit.ly oh, thank you, because I didn't want to mess that up. So if you're able to join, or hopefully, I know we missed some of the meeting, but we did have to prioritize this conversation. We are concerned about the turquoise alert. We mentioned that in last week's conversation, or with Kayla and her family. If Kimberly's still on the line, understanding why a turquoise alert was not initiated or an Arizona silver alert. So we'll be working on those issues. And also they're still targeting our Native population when it comes to mental health. And so we'll continue to work on that and work with our Operation Rainbow Bridge in making sure that there's still collaboration with the US, or not the US, the Attorney General's office. They did get some funding, And our hope is that the second round of funding, Navajo Nation will apply, or one of our entities will apply to help support our relatives who've been victim of the treatment center scam. So everyone be well. Twyla, let me know. We're on administrative leave for legislative, but we still do this work for the family. So I want to thank everybody who's on the line. I think executive might have some administrative leave, but those who are considered, essential are always working around the clock. So we thank our law enforcement who joined the call, vice president, and all of our advocates, survivors, and family members. This is the work that our families have requested of us. We're also survivors. And so I hope collectively we're healing and doing the work on their behalf. Are there any other announcements before we end the call? Okay, hearing none. Tatiana will end the call at 10:25, and we'll come back together next Tuesday at 8:30. Thank you so much. Hagonet.